I literally tell my kids every day before they go to a practice or a game, I ask them, what are they going to improve on? And I always think that it's important to go into every practice or game with something that you want to improve on. And I think that's appropriate for life. Like when you're walking into your office, like, what am I going to work on? What am I going to improve on today?
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what create space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production. Before we get back to today's conversation, I want to talk about something that hits most of us as we enter the premenopausal and menopausal years, that sudden, frustrating shift in how our bodies feel. We often talk about hot flashes, but we don't talk enough about the menopause middle, the stubborn bloating, the brain fog, and the fact that our digestion just seems to stall.
This isn't just in your head, it's in your microbiome. Trust me, I have worked for years to continually care for my gut health. As we age, our estrogen and progesterone levels drop, and we actually lose the diversity of the good bacteria in our gut. This dysbiosis leads to an increase in inflammatory bacteria, which is why we suddenly struggle with constipation, mood swings, and even sleep disturbances. That's why I want to introduce you to Relievance.
Relievance isn't just another fiber supplement. It was developed by Dr. Robert A. Gans, a nationally recognized board-certified gastroenterologist with over 30 years of clinical experience. Dr. Gans saw the limitations of standard fiber products and created this proprietary 8-fiber formula.
What makes Relievance different is the science of balance. It combines 8 different fibers, each selected for their specific viscosity and solubility. This allows the formula to dissolve gently and support your natural gut rhythm without the harsh gas or bloating often caused by single fiber supplements.
By increasing your fiber intake with a blended formula like Relievance, you're doing more than just staying regular. You're feeding the beneficial bacteria that help regulate your hormones, clear that menopause brain fog, and stabilize your energy levels. It's a tool to help fight the physiological effects of aging and reclaim your daily comfort.
It is third-party tested, gluten-free, and contains 0 artificial additives or fillers. It's just pure, clinically balanced support for a sensitive stomach. Sign me up.
If you're ready to target bloating at the source and support your microbiome through this transition, it's time to try the formula Dr. Gans developed for his own patients.
For your convenience, you can find Relievance Fiber right on Amazon or visit relievancefiber.com. Feel like yourself again with Relievance.
If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know I used to be the biggest skeptic about supplements. I thought, I can definitely get everything I need from food. But then I started to realize that high-quality, clean supplements weren't about replacing a healthy diet. They were about optimizing my health in a way I never thought possible. For instance, I discovered what so many women eventually do. I was deficient in magnesium. Now that it's part of my routine, I'm sleeping better and I feel absolutely amazing. It made me realize that quality matters more than anything.
When it comes to taking supplements, ingredient integrity is a must for us both, and that's why we trust Smidge. Smidge offers a small line of foundational supplements, core nutrients, including 100% whole food vitamins, and digestive support for people who prioritize real food, but know even the best diets have gaps. They obsess over ingredient integrity, crafting minimal, clean products with 0 additives and rich nutrients meticulously sourced from around the world. We both love Smidge's magnesium, but with my chronic gut health issues, Smidge's digestive support is my tried and true. I use their digestive enzymes every single day before meals, and it has been a game changer in post-meal bloat, fatigue, and overall digestion for me. If you have any digestive issues, their enzymes, including the original and HCl plus enzymes, are a must try.
Smidge just dropped some incredible whole food supplements that we've been loving. First up, their Kakadu Plum. Most vitamin C supplements are just mass-produced synthetic chemicals, but this is the real deal from Australia. It's pure, whole food vitamin C that your body actually knows how to use for glowing skin and a rock-solid immune system.
I'm also obsessed with their Australian emu oil. You won't find this at a typical health store. It's the best source of vitamin K2, MK4, which is a total game changer for women's bone and heart health. While plant-based K2 is hard for your body to process, Smidge's emu oil is already pre-converted, so your body absorbs it instantly.
So, if you want a brand that is truly backed by research, derived from sustainable principles, and only wants to provide you with the freshest, highest quality nutrients, it's Smidge.
Head over to getsmidge.com to check out their magnesium, emu oil, kakadu plum, and their fantastic digestive enzymes. And don't forget to use our code GOLDIVY10 at checkout for 10% off.
And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today, you're going to be so pumped that you tuned in because the person that we have with us today, we're really reversing roles. We are the host. He is the guest. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed, Ben Leber.
Hi, ladies. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're pumped. I feel like we get maybe 5 minutes of your time when we're on. This is going to be long form, which is really exciting. And for those of you listening who you might know Ben Leber from Twin Cities Live, you might know him from his time as an NFL player. We want to talk about, the Ben maybe behind the scenes that people might not have had a chance to see live on TV.
Yeah. And something Ben doesn't know is before we were on Twin Cities Live, you were on our list of guests to have on the show. And it was kind of like, once we get on Twin Cities Live, we'll kind of like ask him or whatever. And now here we are. It's just like this full circle moment. And
here it is.
Yeah.
You just throw it out in the universe and it just has a funny way of making things work.
It really does. Mm-hmm. And something, Ben, we're doing this season is we're starting off with some instant impact. So if people can only tune in for a little bit, maybe something you think we'll unpack in the episode, but if you could leave our listeners with just like a big golden nugget of yours, what would that be today? What's coming to mind?
Okay. I would probably say from a global view, from just like what I've experienced in my life is, it is that old adage, like put yourself out there, being that comfortable person in uncomfortable situations. I mean, it kind of goes along the line of like take risks, but I think that's very subjective for a lot of people. I just think that like if there's this one takeaway that I've learned from myself through this whole like little journey that I've been on is it's okay just to throw yourself out there and not know what the hell you're doing and just try to figure it out. So, that's one thing that I would say. Hey, if you're out there and you want to tune out for the next, however many minutes, and this is all you want to watch, and that's all you want to listen to, I would say, here's my little nugget in life. Like,
I love it. That's great advice.
Go out there and be uncomfortable. Put yourself in situations that are unpredictable, and there's going to be more positives than negatives that ever come out of it.
What's your first memory, looking back, maybe young Ben, college Ben, whatever age comes to mind, where you took that risk? You were extremely uncomfortable, and looking back, you're like, damn, that paid off.
Man, I mean, my first risk that I wondered if am I doing the right thing was probably kindergarten, Jefferson Elementary School, Albia, Iowa. It's nap time. We were told to take a nap on our mats, and boy, I just wanted to play with my friends. And so I crawled off my mat and I started playing with my friends, and I got in trouble because I was not sleeping. No, that is actually a core memory.
I was like, wait, how's this going to pay off?
No, it's not paying off at all. I'm just like, when you went into like my first memory, I'm like, oh my gosh, one of my first memories as a kid was in this old elementary school that they tore down now because of all the asbestos in it. We just, you laid on this like mat that you had, like you rolled out this mat during nap time in the afternoon. And I just thought it was like the most fun thing to do in school was after recess, we'd just like come in and we'd like lay on these mats and take naps. It was the best.
Was it blue on one side and red on the other?
No, I think so. Ours were like basically welcome mats. They were like the ones that you just like roll out. They were like the knit, almost like kind of I think the knitted kind. You just like It was probably an all weather doormat that my parents had that they bought at Pomida or something like that. And so like you're just sleeping mat. In all seriousness, I would say that the leap from high school to college. And it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal because, I had a college scholarship. It was a goal of mine to get a D1 scholarship. I got it. So it's like, well, what could be so frightening about that? I think, looking back, I got to keep in mind that when I grew up in a small town and now this point in time in my life in South Dakota, I don't think a lot of people were encouraged to leave. It was very much the small town mentality of like, no, you stay here, you go to school locally, you stay close. You might go to Sioux Falls for school, but you come back and like, there wasn't a support system I felt like at the time where it's like, hey, no, go out and explore the world. We kind of thought that this was our own world and what could be better than that. So I packed up my car a week after graduation and I left. I drove down to Kansas State and I said, I want to get ahead in football. I want to get ahead in the college life. And so I just basically threw myself out there and I ended up rooming with an older veteran. He had a room open for the summertime before the dorms were open. And me and another freshman roomed with him. And it was scary and fun and exciting, and I didn't know what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And, I left everything that I ever knew that was comfortable and left them behind and just kind of did my own thing. So that was probably the biggest leap that I've as far as my earliest memory.
Yeah. I think too, just thinking of the everyday listener, it feels like you're doing something wrong when you have that uncomfortable feeling sometimes, because it doesn't feel good in your body to be that uncomfortable or to take that risk. And so sometimes you have to remind yourself what's on the other side of the risk, what's on the other side of feeling uncomfortable. I mean, every time we have come into Twin Cities Live, we're nervous and we're like, like, should we be doing this? But then it's like, once you get yourself comfortable putting yourself out there, it's vulnerable to do it, but it always pays off. You learn something or you grow or you realize how strong you are. Or you realize something about yourself and you're more resilient, I think, than people think. And I think people get in their own little world and bubbles and it's strange to get out. And you, I'm sure, had a lot of friends that didn't leave. And you were probably the black sheep that's like, okay, not only am I not going to like stay here, I'm also not going to spend the summer here. I'm getting out of here now and I'm going to get ahead of the game. So that's really cool that you decided to do that. And then to be with the veterans. So how did that play into your football experience?
It was great because the guy that I lived with, he was starting linebacker on the team. Very good. I think he already had some all-conference honors at that point in time. So he was kind of a big deal. And he just happened to have his two roommates were non-football players and they went home for the summertime. And so he had 2 extra rooms and it was honestly a great decision to just like fall in with him as far as being a roommate, because I got to see him train every day. Like we would all train together. And I'm like, oh, so this is what it looks like to be an all-conference linebacker, to be really good at your position. Like this is the sort of time and energy that you got to put into it. When we're talking in June, and we're not kicking the ball off to the regular season until the end of August. And this is how hard he's working in June. So, and then from him, I got to meet, really get into the inner circle with some of the other veterans. And so I think from a social standpoint, it was a great decision. And I think to your point, Andrea, that sometimes we take these uncomfortable decisions and in our own stupid brains, like we think the outcome is going to be like this big scary monster. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like the boogeyman's on the other side of this thing that we're doing. And more often than not, there might be some hiccups, but it's never as bad as you think. It's never going to be as scary or as bad. So I think that is our own brain sometimes, like leading us down this path that you got to, through experience, you just got to fight back and realize that, like, no, it's going to be a lot more positives than negatives on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This also speaks to the importance of role models and mentors. You speak about that guy that you roomed with and then the social circle he put you in. And yet it also takes some grit and confidence. Do you feel like you always had that grit or confidence, or it was where did that come from? I'm curious.
No, no, I it's hard to label yourself in that way. For a long time, it was just survival. It was just what can I do to make sure that I not only get through the day, but somehow thrive in this day and learn something from this day rather than just existing and kind of going through the motions. I think that through fear, honestly, was like kind of what propelled me. Like I really tried to live up to this idea that I'm getting a college scholarship, I'm getting my education paid for. Um, there is an obligation. I felt like there was an obligation that I had to live up to for them to take a chance on me. It is an investment in these universities. Like yes, I am a football player, but they're like, I'm investing in this person that they're going to bring something, a benefit to this university and this program. And so I felt that early on. And I kind of let that motivate me. I'm like, I got to go out there and earn this. I got to go out there and make them and show them that they made the right decision. Because I was very under recruited. Like I didn't have a ton of offers. I wasn't one of these 4 or 5 star guys that was I can hand pick any team that I wanted to go to. Like I was just I was happy that they even noticed. I'm like, wow, you guys want to offer me a scholarship? This is great. So I never forgot that, and I felt the weight of that. And I think in a good way that fear just like helped me kind of get through some of those dark days and those hard days. And then, I guess over time you can probably look back and say, oh man, you get like, that takes grit to do that. It takes confidence. Like, no, Brooke, I was scared out of my mind.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. I was like, there was a time where I almost quit. I almost quit before the season even started because I was so scared. I mean, I remember laying in my dorm room, sharing my dorm with another freshman who this guy was a 4-star guy. He was the number one recruited guy in our class. And he just looked like he had confidence just oozing out of his ears. And I remember, and I'm not BSing you. It was like the nap time before we went to our afternoon practice, and it was like our first padded practice that we were going to have. And so this was like big boy, big time stuff. We're no longer just in the helmets. Like we're actually putting the pads on. This is going to be for real. I remember laying there in my bed with the sheets over my head like a little kid, like scared. I'm an 18-year-old kid, scared out of my mind. I was going through all the ways that I could quit. Like, okay, so how am I going to do this? So I just walk into the coach's office and just say, I'm going to quit. How am I going to tell my parents? When am I going to pack my stuff up? Like I went through the whole thing because I was terrified of like what lay on the other side.
Why'd you stay?
Because I had a roommate that when his alarm went off and he walked out the door, I was like, well, shoot, I should probably follow him. Like, I mean, it really was like, it's like our alarms went off and like kind of snapped me back to reality. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to like follow his lead and just walk out the door.
Yeah.
And then I go to practice and I'm like, okay, I got through that day. That wasn't that bad. And then one day led to another. So yeah, but it was scary times.
I think about grit too as a football player and how a lot of football players' stories are they came from nothing. They didn't have any family helping them. They had, that's the chip on their shoulder and they use it to motivate themselves. And you kind of had a different story where you had good family values and the scholarship. And I'm curious kind of how that played into your relationship and like your value that you felt like you brought compared to people with a completely different story on your team.
That is such a good question because I think you hit it right on the head that you can use life's shortcomings and really use that for motivation. And that stuff is inspiring for a lot of people when you hear some of these stories. But that honestly went through my head too, was what? I'm not like running from anything. I'm not running from a past. I'm not running from an abusive family. I'm not running from, a broken home. None of that stuff. I had a great upbringing. My parents worked their asses off, and my parents are still together. My dad was my high school principal. I have two older brothers that were super supportive. I have a younger sister that was really supportive. Like, I'm like, I got nothing, guys. Like, I got all these other guys in the locker room are coming from these places, kind of dark places, and I'm like, man, I get it. I get that football is like an outlet for you. Football is never really an outlet for me. So that is one thing too. I did kind of have to chew on that for a while and be like, what is my motivation? I'm not running from anything. I'm not, it's not one of those things where I feel like this is my only out. I felt like I was educated enough to where I could get an education. I could go work a job. I can be successful with or without football. So to your point, like, why put myself through this? And I don't really know the answer to that. I think the one thing that I really, really enjoy about myself is the personal challenge every single day. Because people only see, that we play, 12, 13 games in college and now 17 games in the NFL. But the daily, like, challenging of yourself and the daily improvement, and every day you're setting a personal goal for yourself. And I freaking love that. Like, I miss that more than anything when it comes to just the game itself. I don't miss Sundays. I don't miss waking up on Mondays and feeling like crap. But man, I miss the preparation. I miss, sitting down at night and knowing like, okay, tomorrow we're going to be doing this, and I've got to get better with my footwork on this pass drop, and I got to do a better job with my handwork on this. And I've got I loved setting those like little individual goals every day. And I certainly did that at K-State when I was young.
It's the evolution. You're constantly setting goals. You're constantly growing. I also think about the camaraderie, the game yesterday, the Olympics, the USA team, like that had to light something within you and make you miss the camaraderie of sports, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's so good to see both. Everybody, that's the one thing I love about team sports, because it does take everybody. And yeah, I definitely think that Canada had the upper hand, but it's a team sport. They couldn't get past our goalie, and our goalie was out of his mind. And then we made just enough plays to win the game. And it's like, it takes everybody involved, and what a celebration. And you're right, Brooke. It's, I do miss those moments. You miss those bus rides going back to the airport. And you miss, being in the locker room with those guys celebrating certain wins. But yeah, like I said, though, what comes with that is rolling out of bed, feeling terrible the next day, trying to figure out how you can get your body to practice on a Wednesday, after a game. But yeah, every player, whether you're an individual sport or not, you miss the camaraderie, you miss the people that kind of got you there. So, but that's not to say though, Twin Cities Live is quite the team. We celebrate our wins and we have to chew on our losses as well. But no, it is fun to be in that environment too, where it does feel like a team.
Yeah. It's fun to kind of watch your pivots and we're just getting started. You're in college, then you're going to pivot to NFL, then you're going to pivot into media and parenthood, lots of different pivots. What was it like? What was that transition? Or when were you like, I'm definitely going to go into the NFL. This is like for sure. Cause it sounds like going into college, you weren't super confident that might be a thing. It's like, oh, this team actually wants me. And then you end up in the NFL. Like, how does that happen? Are you tired of the endless battle with cravings? Do you dream of managing your appetite without the hassle, the side effects, or the hefty price tag?
Then it's time to meet Dr. Stephanie. She's not just a doctor of pharmacy. She's a certified diabetes educator and a leading hormone expert. She listened to your struggles and formulated a gentle, natural solution, GLP Wonder.
GLP Wonder is a revolutionary supplement designed for an easier path to appetite control and hunger management. How? It works by combining powerful natural ingredients like areocitrin and green tea extract to naturally support your body's own GLP-1 levels. This signals fullness to your brain, curbs those persistent cravings, and even helps fight insulin spikes, that stubborn fat-storing hormone.
The result, reduced hunger, better appetite control, and a more natural way to stay on track with your diet and goals. It's effective, it's safe, and it's affordable. Just 1 capsule per day for powerful results.
GLP Wonder is now easier than ever to find. Look for Dr. Stephanie's GLP Wonder at Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart. And we are thrilled to announce that you can now find it in Target stores nationwide.
Stop waiting and start winning the fight against cravings today. Find your nearest store, or to learn more and shop the full Dr. Stephanie's collection, visit drstephanies.com. And for a limited time, use code GOLDIVY30 for 30% off all Dr. Stephanie products at drstephanies.com.
Hey everyone, if you're like me, January through May means cold and flu season. But this year, I'm ready. Besides the All Things Elderberry gummies my kids ask for every morning, I want to talk about something that is a non-negotiable in my fridge, the Everyday Elderberry Elixir from All Things Elderberry. They call it an elixir, not a syrup, and here's why. It's made with organic, farm-fresh Missouri elderberries, never dried. That gives it a light, uniquely juicy, and palatable consistency. It's not thick or overly sweet. And the difference it makes for me is huge. For me, a tablespoon anytime I feel that first little tickle in my throat or before a big event where I absolutely refuse to be sick. It either completely kicks symptoms to the curb or lessens them so fast. Even my oldest, Cora, is asking for it. I will never not have it. It's my daily defense. And who needs that defense more right now than our bride-to-be, Brooke?
Ooh, yes. Wedding season is basically a marathon. Between the bridal showers, the bachelorette trip to Florida, and all the main events, I don't have time to be run down. The thought of getting sick before my bachelorette trip, no thank you. I'm taking my elderberry elixir with me every morning, whether I'm at home or on the road. It's my little insurance policy, so I can fully enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime season without worry. It's literally for the mom who holds everything together and the bride who is trying to hold her wedding together.
That's right. Whether you're a busy parent, a traveler, or a bride prepping for the big day, you deserve this defense. Stop letting illness slow you down. Head over to allthingselderberry.com right now.
And for 15% off your very first order, use our special code GOLDIVY. That's GOLDIVY. Get the Everyday Elderberry Elixir. It's the defense you deserve.
Yeah, no, you're right. The whole thing was kind of an evolution. So it took me a while, probably my first season and beyond, to like really feel like I belong. Like, okay, I can play with these guys, and this isn't like the big bad scary thing that I thought it was. And then it was just probably watching the upperclassmen that I become friends with. I saw a number of those guys get drafted in the NFL, and I'm like, well, if those guys can get drafted, I feel like I'm on par with some of those guys. And then, all the way through along the way, you might pick up an award or an accolade, or you might get recognition from the conference or whatever. And that just kind of boosts your spirits of like, okay, yeah, I'm on this track. I think it was when I started hearing from agents my junior year, just like, hey, this is who we are. If you're looking at the NFL, keep us in mind. And it was like, oh, okay. The NFL is probably a realization. I didn't really care about what round I was going to get selected. I just wanted an opportunity.
That's got to be wild though, Ben. You're like this from the small town, and then you have agents reaching out to you. Like, I know it's a progression, but that's got to be wild. I mean, how old were you when you were little and you were like, football's my thing? And then all of a sudden,
oh my gosh, well, that's the other part of it. Like, I never dreamed about playing in the NFL. Like my dream was to fly military jets and maybe be an astronaut. I mean, that was like, I was real close to going to Air Force Academy to play football. I really saw myself doing that more than anything else than like the NFL dream. Again, small town Iowa, small town South Dakota. I don't think that I never went to an NFL game. I think as a kid, I'd never been to an NFL game. We watched it on TV. I mean, we loved it. I mean, we're like all the other kids out there. We loved watching it. But did I think it was a reality for me? No, because there was nobody around me that like made it.
Yeah.
It didn't even seem like it was a possibility. So it's like, I didn't even dream about it ever.
Yeah. It shows when you put yourself in those rooms, your belief in yourself and what you're capable of is naturally extended. And then you're putting the work into growing and becoming a better athlete. So you're putting that personal and professional development into place.
The one thing that I will say that worked for me, it doesn't work for everybody this way, but some people set goals and they say, this is what I want to be 5 years from now. And that's great. I think it's like one of those things, like everybody needs to have big goals. I think sometimes we trip over the everyday trying to get to that goal because that's all we can think about. If I was a senior in high school and I said, I want to play in the NFL, knowing myself, I think I would have fixated on that so much that I wouldn't even know how to put the work in on an everyday. And so I kind of look at it like, if I'm running a 100-meter dash and all I concentrated on was just crossing the finish line and crossing and breaking the tape, I think I would forget how to get out of the blocks. Like I would forget, like, oh man, like I got to power through my first 3 steps, keep my head down, relax my hands, relax my shoulders, drive my elbows. Like I would forget all of those things because all I cared about was just getting to the finish line. And so I think the way that I naturally fell into my progression was that I only cared about the everyday. I didn't think about the NFL. Even when agents were calling, I was like, okay, cool. But like, I still got to go out there and be a good teammate to my guys today. I still have to go out there and we got a conditioning test tomorrow that I think I'm going to, probably puke on. I'm not thinking about the NFL draft, 2 years from now. So that's kind of how I approached a lot of things. And, that works for me. It keeps me from being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe that works for some people, maybe it doesn't, but that's how it works for me.
There's so many parallels to real life with that too. Like sometimes you can get overwhelmed thinking like, oh my gosh, is my kid going to be well-rounded by the time they get out of this house? Am I a good mother? Are they going to leave and feel like they got what they needed? And it's like, okay, if you just focus on today, being the best parent you can be today, right now, being present with them, being intentional with them, you'll get to that point. Or if it's your professional life, or if it's your marriage, or if it's your fitness goals, it's like, it's such a great reminder that you have 100% to give today. And so, yeah, make the goal, but like really focusing on the now makes you more present. And then you won't have those overwhelming thoughts that can kind of paralyze you sometimes from even taking the action. So I love that. And that can go with confidence too. It's like confidence will come from taking the action. A lot of people are like waiting for the motivation or waiting to feel confident. And it's just showing like, just show up 100%. So how are you doing that? Like when you think about you showing up on fire, whether it's back when you were on the team, it's today, like what kind of fuels you so you can show up and give 100%?
I don't really know if it's like a conscious thing that I really think about. I think from the benefit of having a really tough coach in college that kind of set the foundation for, kind of why we're talking today. So much of it was just the day to day. It was just, this is what we're doing today. And he broke everything down for us. And like, okay, if we've got a 3.5-hour practice, which our practices were very long, you had to take just small chunks out of the whole thing. Because each individual practice felt overwhelming. We're week, 12 into the 10, 11, 12 into the season, and we still have 3-hour practices. When most teams aren't wearing pads anymore, they probably have an hour and a half practice. Half of that practice is probably a walkthrough. We were doing the opposite. We were still going full speed. And so I think because of that grinding nature, you just like, all right, let me just get through period 1. Period 1 is just going to be X, Y, and Z. Then period 2, we're going to be working fundamentals. And this is what I got to work on for period 2. Then period 3, we're going to get together as a team and we're going to be doing this. So it's like, you could never look beyond what you're actually doing. And so, even now it's just like, all right, well, what do we got on the show today? How can I be, how can I be the best version of myself? And put myself out there and be entertaining and have fun and be loose and whatever. I think that preparation is a huge part of it. I learned that as well. I mean, the more prepared I am, I think the faster and looser that you can play with anything. So, kind of a double answer there, but hopefully I got you.
Yeah. I want to get into that, how you prepare, because from what I observe, just from knowing you from the show and watching you, is you are extremely present. And now it makes sense why you enjoy where you're at, because you're not focused on what just happened or what has to happen. It's like you're allowing yourself to be authentically you because you're just here in the moment. What does that look like, though, when you do need to prepare and you do need to think about the future interview or what's to come?
Well, social media helps. It's I'm sure you guys use it a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
I try to research a little bit about every guest that we're doing. And now it's easier because, like if you guys are coming on the show, I don't have to do a deep dive in what you guys are doing. Obviously, if you guys are on to promote something that's new, let's learn about what's going on that's new. But like, the first, 18 months, 2 years of me doing this, like every guest seemed like a new guest. And so I would, after our morning call at 8:40, it was like, put in whatever time I needed to research all the guests that are on that day. And then on top of that, it's like, I gotta learn how to read a teleprompter, and I gotta learn the mechanics of like what's going on in the TV show, and how do I do things. So definitely just small incremental things every day. But I would say now the preparation's a little bit less, but now my focus is like, how can I be as good as Elizabeth is when she's doing all the little things behind the scenes, like the way she transitions to certain topics, the way that she's able to hear our producer in our ear, not like give a facial recognition of like, oh, wait, someone's talking to me. What are they saying? How can I roll with that information, change what we're doing, what we thought we were going to be doing, pivot to something else. Like, so there's some mechanical things that happen within the show that I could definitely be better at. And so I just try to watch and learn and, try to implement it as much as I can.
You guys make it look so easy until you're there and you're like, because sometimes the teleprompter doesn't move as fast as it needs to move, or it's moving too fast, or, and then it's like you have different cameras you're looking at. Like you don't realize how much goes into it till you're behind the or you're in front of the camera. And you guys make it just seem so easy. And I think until you like really experience it, you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are brilliant. And you're talking to so many different people from so many walks of life. And so I'm curious, let's talk about that pivot. Okay, so you've got the NFL, you live that life. That's got to be a wild ride, but it's football, right? And then you're completely in a different new land. How did that happen? And like, what kind of got you to where you are now with Twin Cities Live?
Well, I'll try to keep it short. So about a year before I was done playing, I knew like every player knows that their career is going to be coming to an end. So you start thinking about what you can do in post-career. The NFL does a great job with offering a lot of, internships, different little things here and there, just kind of pique your interest in the life after football. Well, one of the things I did was a broadcast boot camp. And so I went out to NFL Films in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and they basically put all of us players that signed up into this truly a media boot camp of here's what it feels like to be a play-by-play guy, a color analyst, a desk analyst, an anchor, a news reporter, a sports reporter. So it's like they do all this stuff, and then they have a bunch of the bigwigs from these networks come in, they watch your film, and then they break you down kind of like we get broken down watching film with our teammates. They put us in a big auditorium, and they basically critique how we did like that day doing the various tasks. I found that super fascinating. I was like, this is really fun. It's a good way to stay close to the game and not have to be a coach or work in the front office where I'm spending 80 hours a week there, 365. And it's just like all encompassing. I get to have a life and be around football. So that's where I started to focus a lot of my attention, was just like, okay, I want to be doing media stuff. And so when I got done playing, I just reached out to everybody that I knew. Where can I get reps? How can I get in front of a microphone or a camera for free? I never got paid. I didn't get paid for probably 2 or 3 years. I just did everything for free. And I knew that was important just to get repetition. So KFN was great. Chad Abbott has been, probably my number one fan. He's gotten me so many opportunities just to be in front of the microphone on that station, along with all the contacts that he has. And then through that, I reached out to Michelle Tafoya's agent. And Michelle, she helped me out, hugely when I was just coming out. And through her agent, she got me some stuff with Fox Sports, doing some color commentary for college football. So then I worked college football for 6 or 7 years. Working my way up. I was doing high school football for Fox, and then I started doing all the major conferences for Fox. And I thought that was it. I'm like, okay, well, this is just what I'm going to be doing. And then I had no idea that Steve Patterson was going to walk away. I had no idea that he was going to retire on Twin Cities Live. They had asked me to fill in host years and years and years ago, just to get reps and stuff. And then he took that job. He did it for 7 years. I didn't know that he was going to retire because I myself wasn't watching the show. And then when he stepped away, they needed some fill-in hosts as well. And so they called me back. I didn't know I was auditioning. It wasn't even on my radar. I did that a couple times. And then Elizabeth calls me and says like, hey, you want to grab coffee one day? I'm like, sure. And then we're sitting down at coffee and she's like, what do you think about doing this job like full time? I was like, what? like lifestyle, like be your co-host? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Like, the whole thing was like, I don't know. Like, I'm a football guy, right? I just kind of pigeonholed myself into this world where I'm like a football guy. And then I really talked about it. My wife and I talked about it, and she really kind of pushed me to do it. And so I said yes. And here we are.
Crazy. Yeah, that's a whole new world. But you're still doing football stuff too. So you've got that mix.
Yeah.
And you've got 3 kids. And so you're balancing that Twin Cities Live life. And I feel like it's cool to think about your journey and think about what your kids have seen and watched. You know, they're watching you pivot in the midst of all of this. And
they don't care, right?
I bet they care more than you think. They care more than you think.
Most kids don't care what their parents do for a living.
But it seems like you do a good job of, taking the time to go on the vacations with your family and be at their sporting things. And then you've got Twin Cities Live, and then you're traveling for football. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I have 3 kids too, and I am not traveling all over for these football games in London and then whatever. So how's that balance for you? Like, is your head ever spinning like absolute, you feel like overwhelmed what is going on? Or are you like, no, I've got my system in place. Life is good. And 99% of the time I got this.
No, I mean, like 10% of the time I got this, and 90% of the time, we're thinking like, what the hell are we doing? And how are we going to pull this off? I think one of the benefits is that I never, because of the college football and because I was starting to do more stuff with the Vikings and on the radio station, I never took a break. So I retired in 2011. That was my last season. And then by that 2012 season, when I officially retired, I went right into it. So my wife and I never had a moment or a season or two to feel like, oh, this is what normal life is, and she's been with me. We met in college. And so she's known that like the football season, the bulk of the fall and the winter was just football, and it's weekends away and all that stuff. So I think thankfully the transition was easier because we're both just in that mindset of here comes football season, and here we just got to ramp up and we just got to do this thing. Now, when Twin Cities Live came along and I didn't give up football, which I hopefully never have to give up football, that became more interesting because, as you said, like with the 3 kids and they get more activities and stuff like that, I just, we struggle to keep our heads above water like everybody else. I don't think there's any there's no magic formula. It's about, we try to communicate as much as we can. Yes, it sucks that sometimes it becomes like, you feel like it's a business and you're like, okay, well, we got to like sit down and like really look at this calendar and we got to like figure this out. And like, you just got to get the nuts and bolts taken care of. And it's like, okay, well, when can we find time to like go out, or when can we do this? When can we socialize? I mean, we struggle with that as much as everybody else, but we also know that we got a finite point of time where we get the kids at home. My daughter's graduating high school in this spring, and then she's off to college. So like, we're already seeing like how fast this can go. Yeah. And so I think that, we're kind of in that, like, let's pull the reins back and let's stop accelerating life and, keep the kids at home as long as possible. But, that's impossible to do.
Yeah. You also are very into your health. and
Yes.
holistic wellness. And I'm just thinking about the stress of travel and juggling multiple jobs and being a dad and a husband. How do you make the time to take care of you with all of the things you're juggling?
Man, I just wish that I wish I could do a better job with that, honestly. We were talking about this on the show the other day because we had a free for all Friday where the viewers ask us questions, and one of the viewers asked like how often I work out, and I said only 3 times a week. And even Elizabeth was like, "Really? That's it?" And I'm like, "That's about all the time I have." I wish I could do more. I certainly did better when I was playing, and I did better when my kids were younger. Um, but no, I mean, I think as you two both know, I think for me, what has worked out the most is just watching my inputs. If I take care of my inputs and what I put in my body, then I don't feel like I have to strain so much on the outputs. And that's really, really helped. If I can be pretty self-disciplined when it comes to what I put in my body. So that way I don't stress out when I'm like, hey, there might be a time where like I get one workout in this whole week, and I may not even get into zone 2 the whole week, like, and yeah, it gives me a little anxiety when that happens, but I'm not packing on the pounds because I know that like I'm taking care of myself and what I put in my body. So that's definitely helped. If I didn't have that discipline, I think it'd be way, way worse off, not getting in the gym as much.
Did I read that you're gluten dairy free? Like Brooke, you guys gluten free people?
I'm gluten free, not dairy free, because
Okay.
I could never give up cheese. That would be an impossibility.
How do you do that on the show when people are bringing in food all the time?
Well, thankfully, my wheat allergy that I was diagnosed with, it's reached a point where like it's an accumulation. It's not necessarily I have a bite and I have a reaction. So I definitely have to watch kind of like the accumulation of a couple days or how many bites I take. Um, then I'll feel the effects of it. But if we're on the show today and I have a bite or two of some gluten, I'll be fine. It won't. But there was a time, and the whole reason why I had to be this way is because I had some very, very serious reactions. I had to get EpiPenned at practice one day because my throat was closing up. And then we finally diagnosed that I had a wheat allergy and intolerance. So yeah, it's been what, since 2007. I think I've
Wow.
been gluten free since 2007. So it definitely helps, being gluten free and not getting some workouts.
I mean, you guys hang out at the state fair for like a month straight. So I bet that time's probably pretty tricky for you.
Yeah, but what? Our state fair is great for
It's
like
great.
gluten free options.
Okay.
I mean,
And
they do a good job.
And I promise if you had the same reaction to dairy, you would give up dairy. Probably before your EpiPen happened, you were like, I'm never giving up wheat or gluten. But then things happen and your body reacts the way and you're like, it's not worth it.
Nope.
No, I'm not. That you're 100% true. I'm just glad that I never really had severe reactions to dairy because the reactions I was having was like truly life altering. It's like, so when your life is altered and you can't enjoy life and you have like in the back of your head, like, am I going to get a migraine today, or am I going to break out in giant hives? Is my face going to swell up because of an allergic reaction? Like if I had that with dairy, done. Cutting it out as much as it would pain me, I'd have to cut it out.
Yeah. I just love it when people say, I will never. And I'm like, well, what about this
Well,
situation?
Yeah.
What are your non-negotiables? Like when you think about mental health, physical health, inputs are clearly one. What other things come to
Yeah.
mind?
I would say just getting the adequate amount of sleep. I'm not great at it. I need to do a better job at it, but as I get older, going to bed earlier, trying to maintain that like consistent amount of sleep has been very, very important. And I've always been one of those that I could push it. I can push it for a couple days, few days. I mean, I can push it for probably a week of like minimal sleep, but I just need one day. Give me one day where I'm getting 8 to 10 hours and I'll totally recharge. So that's kind of been a non-negotiable. I don't really have, I don't think, any like hard and fast, like these have to be done. I just think time to prepare, like I mentioned earlier, to get my stuff done to where I can perform at my highest. Like that's when I get the most anxious. If I don't get that time to do that, that's when I get really anxious.
Yeah. I love getting the inside scoop. It's so nice because it's like you kind of know someone, but then when you really get to ask them those things, I mean, because we're watching you do a lot on social media and on Twin Cities Live. Like it's fascinating. And then to get to ask you, you're like so much more relaxed than I thought you would have been. Like I thought you would have been like, oh no, I have to have my protein shake and then I have to fit in my this and I got it. I thought you were going to be a little bit more high maintenance than you are, Ben.
No, no, I'm not. I mean, I feel like I've always been pretty laid back with that stuff. It's important to me, don't get me wrong. But it's not the end of the world if things don't happen. I would say the working out is like getting time just to get into a gym. That is, I need to make that more of a non-negotiable because it does kind of like sleep give me sort of the heebie-jeebies. Like I know that like my brain functions better when I get a hard workout, when I have a good interval training workout where I, am pushing it to the max. Like that clears my head. And I don't get that opportunity enough. And I know that that's beneficial for not just my brain, but for everything else. So that's something probably I'll try to incorporate a little bit more.
Maybe we need to come to Twin Cities Live. Is that what you're going to say?
You need some more efficient and effective workouts like Move with Gold Ivy.
Hey,
just saying.
We got a library waiting for you, Ben. You got 15, 20-minute workouts. You could just squeeze them in. We could come to the studio.
It is refreshing, though, to hear that you are laid back and these things are still important, but you can still perform at a high level. And I would maybe argue you can perform at a high level because you're not so anxious and strict about, oh gosh, I didn't hit my workout, the day's ruined.
Yeah. No, I feel like we've through just like life and maturity and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were times where I would get, when I was playing, I was definitely way more regimented because I felt like, listen, I've got, when I played, I have 16 Sundays to perform, 16 opportunities in the course of a year to make or break my year or my career. So I was definitely more tight, and more rigid about a routine and like, this is what I got to be doing. Like, I got to do this. I've got to do this modality. I've got to do this extra stretching. I get like whatever I can just to get myself ready for Sundays. But now that I'm not in that world, I realize I can take a deep breath. Like life is going to be okay. Like my job these days are not so much about my physical stuff, now it's more mental. So, I can kind of skip some of the physical things. That's not going to make or break whether I have a good day on the radio or TV or not.
Yeah. I love that. It's a great perspective. Okay, Ben, we have 3 segments of the show, but before we jump into them, I know people want to follow you. They probably already follow you, but if they don't know where to follow you, can you tell people where to find you and follow you on socials?
Sure. Thank you. On X/Twitter, I'm at Nacho Leber. And then on Instagram, I'm at Ben Leber Official. And Facebook, I don't engage on Facebook. So I have 2 pages, but I never use them. So you could probably search for me. I'm there. I will not follow you back because I don't engage on Facebook. It's really just a research tool for me that I can go on there and find people, places, and companies. But I find it kind of exhausting to be on using all 3 at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of better for your mental health, we found. Pick
so
one
no
or
TikTok,
few.
no Snapchat.
Twin Cities Live.
No Twin Cities Live. Yes. Also on Twin Cities Live, as far as watching the day-to-day, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., Channel 5. And then, you can listen to me on Mondays and Thursdays on the Power Trip Morning Show on KFAN.
Yeah.
Lots of
you can
places.
do there's an app for Twin Cities Live too, if you're not like a Minnesotan, because we've got listeners all over the world.
Oh yeah, we can stream. You can watch it and stream it anywhere in the world.
Yeah. You want to be plugged in? We got you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, first up is 3 gold stars. So if you could give our listeners 3 takeaways, things that you're like, yep, you follow these 3 things, life's going to be good for you.
Or 3 messages you would leave with your kids.
Oh.
You can get as deep or as light as you
Oh
want.
man, deep and philosophical, huh?
Wherever you want to go.
I'll go back to what I talked about earlier. Challenge yourself. Find a way to challenge yourself every day. Doesn't have to be, you're not moving mountains, but challenge yourself every day. This can either be point number 2 or it can be like 1B. I literally tell my kids every day before they go to a practice or a game, I ask them, what are they going to improve on? And I always think that it's important to go into every practice or game with something that you want to improve on. And I think that's appropriate for life. Like when you're walking into your office, like, what am I going to work on? What am I going to improve on today? I love like stupid little catchphrases. And so I ask my kids when I tell them that, I said, give me one word that's going to be in your head during the game. And now it could be quick, it could be fast, it could be intensity, but just give me your mantra for the day. Because I found that very helpful for me as well, that I could go into a practice and I just say hands. This whole practice, I'm just going to work on my hand usage. How do I place my hands? How do I get off a block? How do I do this? So it was a reminder of every rep, just like hands, 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 hands. And so I think that that's a really important thing to do to mentally condition your brain to match with your body physically. 2, so challenge, improve. I would say be silly. The one thing that I've learned from the Power Trip Morning Show and Chris Hockey specifically is that dude does a very serious job. But he has a way of always keeping things fun, light, and silly. I don't think I'm not going to give away Chris's actual age, basically, because I don't know it. I know he's in his 50s. But here's a 50-year-old guy that always has something silly to say or do. And I think as adults, I think it's very important that all of us remember that it's fun to be silly. And I try to incorporate that on Twin Cities Live as well. Like, try not to take yourself too seriously. So however that manifests itself, whether it's silliness, whether it's you want to be a goofball, whether it's telling dad jokes, whatever it is, I think it's important to be silly. And I think it's important to, in an overall way, and I know that you guys would agree with this, and I know that we're going through this change of time in our culture, but I think being healthy is not something that's looked at as, it should be like us versus them, or the haves and the have-nots. You can take care of your health every day. Every day you can. It is important. It's not something to scoff at. It's not something to be like, oh, you're pretentious, or you're one of those person that you're so vain to care about your health. Like, no, your health is important. I don't understand why it's become such a polarizing topic. It's like, nobody likes to go to the doctor. So keep yourself out of the doctor. Why is it taboo to want to live long? Why is it, why do we have to whisper that you care about your health? So I think, be proud that you are taking care of yourself, and you're working towards taking care of yourself if you've never done it before. Start making those changes today, because, who doesn't want to live to be 100 years old and enjoy life?
Amen. You can be silly and have your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some might say you might live longer being silly, or not taking it so seriously and stressed out. Those are such great gold stars. Nice job. We got 4 gold stars in there.
I love it.
I was like, one was kind of a 1B.
1B. That's fair. Yeah. Giving the people more.
Of course, you'd want some extra credit. Overachiever, Ben.
Okay, next segment, Unleashing Ivy. Just some surprise questions for you. Mine is based on what you just said. What are you working to improve today?
Oh man. So today, to get really into the weeds. So Elizabeth Reese is on vacation. She's his was out on Friday, so I have a co-host, Miss Kristen Hobrick, who's one of our reporters. In those situations, what I'll be working on is like really being the one that drives the ship, because Elizabeth kind of drives the ship when we're together. But when we have co-hosts that are not normal co-hosts come in, I'm kind of the one that takes the A chair a little bit. So that's new for me. It happens a few times a year, but it's like something that I need to get better at, is just kind of controlling the environment and, having me direct where the show goes. I don't often get to do that, so it's something I'll be working on.
I love it. Okay. My question is about relationships, because you married your college sweetheart, got 3 kids. You have great relationships with your team at Twin Cities Live, and your family growing up. And so I'm curious for you, like, what is one of your biggest values in relationships and why you think they thrive so well?
The biggest values would probably have to be trust. And because my wife hits me over my head all the time with communication, I'm in a communication world, but I think all of us dudes out there can be better communicators. I think just being honest and communicating with whoever you're with, whether it's your, family members or brothers, sisters, friends, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, I don't know. It's just easier when you're able to communicate openly and be as honest as possible. It leaves you a little bit vulnerable, but who cares?
Everything's better. I mean, my fiance is an NFL agent, and football is life. And you mentioned fall season, 2 seasons. I would argue football is all year round. I would argue that.
Well, for an NFL agent, the football is year round. Yes.
But just to echo what you said, communication. There's nothing without communication. That's not just your romantic relationship. It's any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Yep.
Okay, Ben, last question. If you could go back and tell younger Ben one thing, what age would you choose, and what would you tell him? I feel like this is a very common answer, but I would probably say that freshman year, maybe 8th grade year, really, really understand that other people's opinions don't really matter. They matter, but they don't really matter. I think that all of us as teenagers probably go through life very self-conscious. And I was probably no exception to that rule. I mean, I was as self-conscious as I think everybody else. I think it really holds you back. I mean, I think that we waste so much energy thinking about what people think about us, rather than just going out there and just like having your best day, So, thankfully I haven't had to like really sit down and tell my kids that, because I think that we also don't understand what that means. Mm-hmm. So I try to check myself on that. I'm not trying to be the wise old owl all the time, because they just roll their eyes at me anyway. But I think if I could, and I could go back and talk to myself and say like, hey, your 47-year-old self is basically harking back at you. You better listen up. That'd probably be it.
I love it. Oh, this has been so fun to get to know you, Ben. You are such a great guy, which it's like you kind of know it, but then to really learn your journey, your story, and what helps you be the person you are. Thanks for letting us in today. This was awesome. You gave so many, even in your story, you might not even realize it, but you're giving so many life lessons just talking about how you walked through your experiences. Like, I feel really inspired and motivated, and it's making me just think about like your gold stars, like challenge yourself, think about how you want to improve, get a little bit more specific, because then that's how you really excel. Caring less about what people think. Like, I'm so happy we sat down today. I'm just so grateful. So thank you for joining us and sharing your life with us today.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so welcome. You guys are great interviewers. You really are. I mean, multiple times I had to stop and think, I'm like, wow, how would I answer that? So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, this was really fun. It's good to see you guys on the other side of this as well. As you guys kind of mentioned that normally when you're on our show, we're flipping the roles here.
Yeah.
So this was fun. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, we leave our listeners with what we call a piece of gold, whether that's a favorite quote of yours or just one last little nugget of
Wise
wisdom.
owl. We
You
want a
wise
wise
owl. You want to leave us and send us off with today.
It'd be something along the lines of stop planning and just do it. So yeah, I don't know if we need any more elaboration, but I think that can be kind of just that you can already kind of tell what that means. Like, I think sometimes we spin our wheels planning and planning and planning, and I just think that just get off your ass and do it.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us. Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.